All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration. It really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Laura Laughlin. Laura, thanks so much.
Yes.
You got to fist bump that out. I'm so excited and honored to have you on the show. I'm really, really excited about this.
Thank you. And I have to say, if you're watching live, then you need to wish Greg a happy birthday.
Oh gosh, you know, another year grayer is what I say. Thank you so
Greg,
much.
did you know that we are only 4 days apart?
I did not know that. So was yours before, or is it not
you're
yet?
currently older than me for like 4 days.
Gosh, you know, lucky me that way. But so Taurus then, right?
Yes,
okay.
yeah, both year of the tiger.
Very strong here. This is going to be a great episode, everybody. But thank you so much. Yeah. So I definitely want to dive into the series of questions. I really want to give everybody a little deeper knowledge into who you are and what drives you and really motivates you to do what you do. So let's just jump in if you're all right.
Okay, yeah.
So the first question, I guess, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from Amarillo, Texas.
Okay. Can't you hear the accent coming out of there? So great.
No. So I'm obviously I'm not a Colorado native. I know that's a big thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like, I'm a native. I'm not a native.
Honestly, there's so few people that are from.
True.
I'm not from here.
That's
you know,
true.
I've been here for I think about 10 years.
Yeah, I'm a proud immigrant.
Yes, a transplant native.
Yes. I'm from a small town that you've never heard of, but it's the most beautiful town that you've never heard of. It's called Harrogate.
Cool. And
it's in England. It's a Victorian spa town. I grew up there, went to school, like in a little village school, and just very idyllic, very storybook looking place.
Awesome.
My mom made a mistake when I was about, 6 years old and Beauty and the Beast came out.
Okay.
She took me to the cinema to see it.
Yeah.
And there was that scene where Belle is like, I want adventure in the Great White Somewhere. And,
oh, no.
And I was like,
that's it. Thank you, Belle. It's actually one of my absolute favorite Disney films.
My mom doesn't know that. Now you know. Now you know,
there you
Mom.
go. It's your fault.
It's your fault. It's your fault. You lost me.
And Disney. and Disney. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So, I came from there. When I moved to the States when I was 18.
Okay.
Came over for college. Just because I was that, adventurous kid, who wanted to, see the rest of the world. So.
Love it.
Yeah, actually, when I graduated high school in England, I first took a road trip with my sister around the western states of the US, and I decided Arizona was a great place because it was always sunny.
Sure.
Coming from England,
warm.
Yeah, it was always sunny. And I couldn't believe the feeling of walking outside at nighttime and it was warm, and I was like, whoa, what is this place?
This is real.
Yeah. In California as well, that was one of the first places I went to and spent time in. And I was like, oh my gosh, real palm trees.
Wow.
They're real. It was so exciting for me.
That's awesome.
I emigrated by myself.
Okay.
Went to college, and I got married young.
All right.
Very young.
Okay.
Because I thought I was a grown-up.
It happens.
Right? You feel like I've moved 5,000 miles across the world by myself. I'm an adult.
What else do I need? What else?
Right. So I ended up getting married when I was 19.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was married for 10 years.
Okay. That's a good chunk of time.
Yeah. I've got some marriage years under my belt.
Yep.
And we had 3 kids along the way.
Okay.
I have a decade of parenting under my belt now, which is, not very common for somebody my age,
Which is true, but I mean, that's huge for passion. I mean, family is everything.
Absolutely, yeah. So my kids, I'll talk about my kids because I love them. Yeah. So Evie, she's my eldest, she's 10.
Cool.
And she is very reserved, but she performed in the Denver Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
So she's like got this interesting personality. She's like a little mogul.
Okay.
Had her first business when she was 4 because she was already reading and writing, and she would make these teeny tiny little books that she would sell to the neighbors.
Okay.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah, sure. You're like, don't worry about her. She's an entrepreneur, everybody.
She is.
Yeah.
She truly is. And she inspires me a lot, like with her moxie.
Okay.
You know, kids got moxie. So.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's actually going into middle school in the fall.
Wow.
Which is kind of scary for me.
Yeah.
They skipped her a grade because she's very, very bright. And so I'm already heading on that path.
Oh man, it just goes by so fast. I mean, it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then so Evie's the eldest, and then I have 2 boys who are very shortly turning 9 and 6. And my eldest son, the most introverted kid ever.
Interesting.
But like deep thinker.
Okay.
So he memorized the periodic table of elements when he was 3, because that's what you do.
That's a common thing now, right?
That's what I did when I was 3.
That's right. And weren't you 2 when that happened?
Right. Like, but yeah, he's not like, he's very like soft spoken, but very insightful, and I love that about him. Like he comes out with these things that are so profound, and I'm like, okay, all right, so I took him last year to the Space Center in Houston to inspire him, because sometimes at school it's hard when there are not a lot of kids who think like you and all that. Sure. And I was like, listen, there's a place for you in the world.
Let me take you.
Yeah,
Come
exactly.
along.
Yes. And so he was like seeing like the real spaceships, and the robonauts are a thing. Wow. It's, like an astronaut, but it's a robot. And his goal in life is he wants to build robonauts. So awesome. Inspiring him that way was really a fun, like, mother-son trip.
Yeah.
And then my youngest, Roan, he's the one who looks nothing like me.
Get out of here.
He's like, the other 2 look just like me.
Okay.
And then the youngest, he is 6. He's turning 6 in a few weeks, and he's like blonde hair, blue eyes.
Wow.
People think I'm like the nanny.
Like, where'd he get these features from?
Yeah, he got that from his dad's side. And actually my cousins, I'm like the brunette of the family.
Oh, okay.
They're all like blondes and blue eyes, and then there's me, like, so. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he's full of life. He's just like the most optimistic, enthusiastic kid. I don't know, it's great having someone like that in your life. So yeah, those are my kids.
Okay.
Obviously, since I said I was married for 10 years, I'm not married anymore.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah, after that ended, that's kind of when I was like, what do I want to do?
Okay.
With my life. I had been a stay-at-home mum before that, homeschooled and all of those kind of fun things.
Sure.
And I, as things were getting worse and worse, I woke up one morning and I had nothing. Like, my bank accounts were emptied, and I didn't know where my husband was, and I had $42 in my purse, and I was like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And it was truly like a scary moment where I felt very much like an immigrant, where I was like, my family's not here, like, and so from that, things got a little better between him and I, where we were able to like negotiate and do the divorce and everything. But I paid for my side of the divorce with an eBay business.
Wow. Okay.
Because I was a stay-at-home mom. What are you gonna do? You know? And I think that's why I always feel so profoundly blessed to live in America.
Love it.
I don't believe there's another country like it in the world. Like, to me, it's the greatest country in the world, because I know that in any other situation, I would not have been able to go from the bottom and build my way up. Wow. It's just got this unique dynamic here that I love. So I don't sound like most Americans, but I truly am like a patriot of this country. It's like very important to me, because, like I said, it's nowhere else like it where you can do that again and again.
Right.
Like, this is like the land of opportunity.
Sure.
You can have nothing and build your way up and do it again. If you lose everything, it's Yeah.
You know, that's so inspirational to so many people, and whoever's watching or listening to this, I mean, it really does matter. And, you know, being blessed that we're all here in this country, there's so much opportunity, but not coming without hard work.
This is true.
I mean, you work for what you get here.
Absolutely.
You have endless opportunity, but it is all on you. So I find that to be a huge inspiration. I want to kind of segue with that into what got you into the business in the first place in real estate, right? And kind of what was your progression through your career?
Yeah, so I had thought about real estate after the divorce. I was like, well, maybe I could do that. I was kind of like timid, you know. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then I was like, well, maybe I should go back to school. Okay. And so I studied really hard for the LSAT, which, if you don't know, it's the law school admission test, which I'm like, the fact that I did this like over a summer with 3 kids, my youngest was 2, like, and I was just like studying my butt off, you know, doing these exams again and again. And anyway, I took it and I did pretty good, and I got into law school with a scholarship. And I only even, like, I was broke as a joke at the time, guys. Like,
the struggle is real. This is awesome.
So I could only, like, afford to apply to, like, one school, right? Like, so I applied to Sandra Day O'Connor, which was the ASU's law school, where I was in Arizona at that time. Yeah. And, you know, I got in with a scholarship, and then, like, I got letters from 7 of the top 10 law schools. Saying like, hey, we want you to apply because of your academics, like, you know, we're waiving the fees to apply and everything. And I was like, what?
That's incredible.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Okay. Twist my arm.
Right. And so I was very much on that path, and I actually met Sandra Day O'Connor. Oh, no way. And, you know, it was like, wow, this is incredible, this opportunity with the law. And then I like looked at my kids and the ages that they were at, and I was like, this isn't right. Okay. It's not what I want, you know. I want to be able to be there for my kids and to raise them. And I was like, well, if you're smart enough to do that, you can do real estate, you know. Sure. And so I came back in a circle to it almost. And I don't regret like all the hard work that I put into studying and everything to achieve that, because it buoyed me up. Real estate is hard, guys. Oh, yeah. You know, if you're watching this and you're not in real estate, it's truly tough. And I think that for me, having that like achievement of being like, wow, okay, you know, I'm capable, like I can do this. So yeah, it was definitely a worthwhile experience for me.
Unreal. And obviously, you know, that's speaking volumes. I think having that education background is pushing it, and whether you use that or not, it's teaching your mind to grow and to expand and setting you up for your greatness and success that you have now into real estate. So to me, that makes sense all the way through and through. And another note that I take away from that is your priorities. And you mentioned your family. Yeah. And, you know, hopefully that speaks volumes to everybody who's watching or listening, but that really does matter at the end of the day. You know, there's always money to be made and moves to be, you know, had, but family is everything.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, like, there's the abundance out there, right? Like, there's the money to be made, whatever you do. Sure. And it's really just choosing what is the most important thing right now. Right. You know, and for me, it was my family, you know, and, you know, like, I really love the whole Keller Williams kind of philosophy of God, family, business. Like, I think that that's a pretty good way to prioritize things in life. And, for sure, you know, obviously my life won't always be having children at home, right? You know, and then things will look different, and, you know, reassess where I'm at and how big my business has grown, and so I'm excited about the future.
I love it. Yeah. This is super great, and this is really diving deeper into Laura, so this is awesome. So I want to go into the next question, which I think is perfect segue. What's your why, Laura? I mean, what drives you? What motivates you? Gets you excited every day to do what you do to the level that you do it at?
Honestly, my goal in life is to impact as many people as I can in a meaningful way for good. And that includes my children, right? Right. But like, I feel like the potential can expand beyond that, because I am grateful for the community that I am. I am grateful for the country that I'm in, you know, and for me to not take a role in that or care about that or those around me would, I think, be incredibly selfish. Wow. Because I have been very blessed, you know, the opportunities that I've had and the business that I've done. And so I think about that a lot. Okay. Like, how can I make the biggest impact in the world? And that looks different at different times, right? Like, depending on what's going on with my family or my business, and, you know, so, but that's really important to me.
Yeah. And to me, that makes a whole lot of sense, is you're making that impact in a positive, where there's so much negativity out there. There's so many people who are in it for themselves and not looking out for others. And I think that, you know, a big reason amongst many why I consider you a real estate titan is because you are really setting that higher standard. You're obviously giving back to the communities and being involved with your people, not treating it just like a transaction, but really caring and giving above yourself, right? It's not just about commissions or numbers that we're putting up. This is people. And, you know, so I love the fact that you stated that, and hopefully everybody's, you know, hearing and seeing this, you know, out there for sure.
Yeah. And everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, you know, and I really believe that. Like, and I feel like, I hope that that's the kind of business that I run. I hope that when people interact with me in any kind of way, that that's the feeling I leave them with, you know. So that's really important to me. I'll say, like, I kind of have big shoes to fill, like, with my family. Okay. I come from a really cool family with awesome people. My granddad, he was actually Britain's longest serving fireman.
Get out of here. Okay.
Yeah, like, and he was able to do that because he started in World War II. You know, he was a teenager.
Sure.
But, like, the stories that I hear about him, like, anybody who knows him, they have, like, a story about Arthur and, like, the things that he did on the side, like the quiet things that he did that were just good. Sure. You know, when firemen would go on strike and things, he would know that their families had no way to feed themselves. Wow. Right? And so he would have to cross the picket line in the morning where they would be cursing at him and not nice to him. But at night, he was taking groceries secretly to those families, and they didn't know it was him, you know. And he was that kind of person, like, throughout his whole life. And I mean, he was, like, gruff, like, don't get me wrong, he was like a gruff old man, but, like, but the way that he acted, you know, in public and also in private was incredible. And I like, now there's, like, a museum, like, thing about my granddad, like, so yeah, I feel like I've been really fortunate to have some incredible people in my life, you know, that have impacted me, where I'm like, wow, you really built a legacy, you know, doing something awesome and of great contribution that meant a lot to a lot of people. So
that's big. And to me, I love that, you know, breakdown or analogy of you are guilty by association, you know, who you surround yourself with. And obviously we are products of our environment in some form or fashion. Nothing solidifies us there. You have to continue it. But the point is that I feel that you've had certain successes in your life because of the people that you're around and have been around. And I just think that's a fantastic takeaway for everybody as well. Just think about that. That's huge. That's really great.
It really is. Like, the company you keep is important.
For sure.
You know, and their energy and their, like, what they're putting out into the world, and how they handle different situations, you know, like, all that energy, like, you kind of absorb it too.
You do.
It's important. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Love that. Okay, so I do want to go into the advisory portion of this, because a lot of the viewers that are watching or listening, whether you're new or seasoned, they want to know what the Titans are doing to grow their business or what they have done. So Laura, if you could look back, you know, at your business thus far, pick or choose one or two things that you added that took it from one level to the next. What's that look like for you?
I think, first of all, my coach. Like, I really appreciate having a coach. I think it doesn't matter where you're at in life. Everybody needs, like, a coach. Everybody needs somebody who will be candid with them, you know? And obviously, different roles in life, the more success some people have, like, they don't have somebody to, like, kind of...
Get on with it here. Here we go.
No excuses for you.
But holding your feet to the fire, like, almost an accountability partner, right?
Yeah, I love, like, I love sports. I love like the Olympics and all that. So for me, like the concept of like that discipline and having a coach, I love it, you know, and it helps, you know, it takes you to the next level, having somebody outside of yourself for that. So
I love that.
That's a helpful thing.
I think that's obviously a big takeaway for everybody out there. I'm trying to be the soundboard or the voice of the audience into that. So obviously there's different time frames and, you know, in your life when you think it's a good time or not a great time to have a coach or to bring on a coach. But what was your process like? I mean, what made you say, I need to do this? I need to have a coach in my life.
Yeah, for me it was, so doing more like high-end deals and stuff, there's not a lot of other agents who do that, right, in this city. And I realized I needed to look beyond, you know, to learn from somebody else. Because, you know, when you're working in the top 1% of the market most of the time, and I mean, like guys, like I've sold the $180,000 condo. I will do any deal because, you know, like I said, everybody deserves dignity and respect, and I am happy to serve, you know. But when you are doing other types of work, that it's like a completely different job, you know, and how do you navigate that? You know, it's more, I would say it's more competitive. And so, you know, it helps to have a coach for that. And so for me, as I was like, yeah, this is where I'm kind of going. Then I was like, yeah, I need a coach. And also going on my own as well. Whereas in the past, I've always been on teams.
Great point.
You know, and I had like the team like to talk to and to throw ideas around with. And that was huge for me, you know. Yeah, I needed someone who was on my team, you know.
Right, that had your back, a soundboard, again, that accountability partner. And I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of you know, people that are watching or listening. Is the time will be right in your career. You'll know when it's okay. Maybe I don't have that team dynamic anymore. Maybe I don't have the support system that I had to really push. Or maybe I do have all that support, but I need somebody else from an outside eye perspective.
Yes.
And I love that aspect because, as you know, and a lot of the viewers of this particular series, there's so much success outside of our comfort zones in our cities. What's happening in, you know, New York and in different parts of LA and New Zealand, Australia, Japan. I mean, the expansion of real estate is huge, and there's so many different perspectives. Why not take it from others and build your best case scenario, which is what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And I think as well for people, if they're like not there yet, where they're like, you know, I don't want to invest in a coach because I, you know, don't want to make that financial investment into that. One thing that I do as well as having a coach is one of my very best friends is similar situation to me, although, you know, she's married, but she lives in Virginia and she has an interior design business. And she's very, like, our personalities are very much aligned. Our energies are very much similar. We're both like driven. And I will say, like, she's the best accountability partner. She's not in real estate, but she's in a related field. And I can say to her, hey, could you like keep me accountable? I said I was going to do this. Hold me accountable, because I know that, again, she will like kick my butt. Those are
the best friends,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. Like, that is the best kind of friend who will be honest with you. And, you know, if you tell them like, hey, kick my butt on Wednesday, like if I haven't done this, and she will do it because she loves me. And, you know, I would do the same for her. And so having that, like, that didn't cost me anything, like, right? To text my friend and be like, Lee, like, I need to do that.
Thanks, Lee, if you're watching or listening, thank you.
That's super. Like finding friends that are supportive, but not just like for a good time supportive,
right?
You know, but like on that similar path to you. I think is really powerful. And, you know, we're opposite sides of the country. You know, and yet we have like a great relationship. And I would say that as well as another tip for people is to really make those friends. Like, I have another friend I was just thinking of who, again, another part of the country, she loves to read and she loves literature. So her and I can nerd out. You know, and so finding those people who share your passions, you know, because it just kind of, it's uplifting, right? Having uplifting people in your life is a good thing.
Agreed.
You know,
across the board.
So
Cool. Yeah, no, that's super good takeaway. So hopefully everybody wrote that down, made good notes, because this is really, really great stuff. I do want to go into the next section here.
Okie dokie.
This one ends up being tricky. This is the challenge question. I always kind of lead into it with, we all have challenges in our lives, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. No one's exempt from that. We all have struggles.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I think it's really how we respond and what we take away and learn from that truly, truly matters at the end of the day. So, Laura, if you're comfortable sharing a challenge that you dealt with in your life that you overcame, became stronger because of it, what's that look like for you?
So I know that people look at me and they're like, oh, she's this classy lady. Like,
which is true.
And I am, right? Yeah. Because, like, your circumstances don't change who you are. But there was a time that I was homeless with my 3 children because I had been stay-at-home mom, with 3 kids. I had no, employment record. Sure, I had great credit because it wasn't, dealing with that a lot, but I didn't have, the backup. When you're in real estate, what are you going to say? Well, I have my real estate license. So.
Sure. Sign on that dotted line.
All right, exactly. And so, I was fortunate and blessed to have friends who, let us stay in, a couple of rooms in their basement. And during that time, I just worked my butt off. I just had to grind, until I got into a position that they, would let me rent somewhere. And
Sure.
Right? But I had to go through that. And honestly, as hard as it was for me, as hard as it was for my kids, my kids have had very interesting lives because of that, man, has it made us closer and has it made us stronger? And I just feel so much more empathy for people that have things happen to them that are completely out of their control.
Sure.
And also you don't know from face value what someone's had to go through and how hard they've had to work, to get out of that situation. But yeah, so I have kids who have literally traveled the world and been homeless, in a few years.
There's a mix there.
Right, they're well-rounded.
But there's, to me, and thanks for sharing that, by the way, because it's not easy to air everything out in front of everybody, but there's so many perspectives to take away and struggles that we deal with. The fact that, literally homeless and not knowing what's going on with the family, and then striving and pushing forward, through those challenges, and then overcoming it, and then look at where you are now, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
So it's a testament to everybody out there who, again, we all have troubles, we all have struggles, but it's not necessarily what defines you. You can keep moving on and learn from, right?
And absolutely, and I feel I have to say, mindset is such a big thing.
Well
I could still mentally be back in that basement, and that's true of anyone with any difficult thing that they've had to go through.
Sure.
Whether it's health, whether it's financial, whether it's family, there's so many things, right? But where is your mind? Where is your heart? Are you looking to the future, or are you dwelling on the past all the time? And I think that that's kind of what spurs you along, is just onwards.
Yeah.
Onwards.
Right here, everybody. I mean, that's so powerful. And I love that you said the mindset. To me, that's huge. And hopefully everybody appreciates this, because I do. I mean, I think that was fantastic. So again, thank you for sharing, because it's not easy. I want to go to a softer question.
Okay.
So we're through the hard stuff, everybody. Let's go through actually one of my favorites, which is the travel back in time question.
Okay.
So if you could travel back in time and give young Laura a piece of advice or two, any age range, what would you say to your younger self?
Okay, so I have to preface this by saying that I truly have been lucky to have incredible parents and mentors in my life.
Wow.
And so I don't even know if I would give myself advice.
Okay.
Because I was given so much good advice. My Hawaiian dad, I call him.
Okay.
He lives here in Colorado Springs, and that's how I kind of came to be here, was to be closer to them.
Cool.
After my divorce, I was like, I need a soft place to land, and and they were it, because they were my people, right? And he always would say to me, just be you, Laura. Just be you, because everything inside of you is a successful person anyway. So just be you.
I love
and
that.
I remember during hard times being oh, be quiet. There's that resistance inside yourself.
Yep.
But it's so true. And the more I think that anybody, this isn't just me, right? Like this is anybody, the more that they are themselves, just truly themselves, then the happier they are, the more success they have in life, the better relationships that they have, you know? And so, yeah, I think that there's something to just being authentically yourself.
Love it.
Yeah.
And you know, the fact that your Hawaiian dad was saying that, I mean, that's such good advice. And not, again, that you would say or change anything that young Laura did, because I love that fact. But I think that looking at it from everybody to take away, that's big. Being you, being an original, not being afraid to showcase who you are and your passions, and letting people in and know. I find, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I find some of the most successful people in this world under any circumstances, I'm not talking financially successful, but personally, professionally, the whole nine, they are originals. They're trailblazers. They're not carbon copies of someone else. They're themselves. And that's what people want, right? So I think that's great. But there's a lot of us, myself included, that have been in life, especially in customer service and sales, where you want to be a people pleaser and you want to be the best for everybody, but you're not going to be able to shift and morph and change. Just being yourself and being comfortable is healthy.
I don't do that.
Right here. What you see is what you get, everybody. This is
totally.
Good.
And, you know, clients will say to me, "Oh, Laura, like, I don't want you to say that to me." But it's the truth.
Yes.
And I have a fiduciary, like, duty to you to tell you the truth in a kind but candid way, so that I can get you the best possible outcome, because that's my job. My job is to protect your, you know, financial future through real estate. And also, like, I care about you and your family, you know, and I'm not going to tell you something that maybe someone else would walk into that room, another realtor would, and I'm not going to do it, right? Like, I don't need the money that bad, like, at any point in my career, to tell somebody something that wasn't the truth, you know? And like, to me, that transcends all, like, the salesy things that, like, people do. I think if, you know, you have compassion and integrity, then that trumps everything. So really, it's about character, you know, then...
well said. I mean, that's perfect. I mean, at the end of the day, I agree 100%. So hopefully everybody's listening to this advice, because this is really good. Not just for, young Laura, but everybody who's watching into that. So I think this is super great. I want to go into the feeding of the mind portion, because I know that you are big into just learning and growing, and so many professionals who are watching or listening, they want to know how the Titans are feeding their minds, right? So books you're reading or read, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media, you already mentioned coaches, but how are you feeding your mind?
So I am, like, obsessed with learning.
Okay.
I've just always been that way, you know, like I'm not, put it this way, I don't have to set a goal to how many books I'm going to read a year. Okay. Because, like...
There we go. Step up your game, everybody. This is what I'm getting at.
I don't really watch TV.
Okay,
like, I'll watch sports, you know, but I'm not, like, watching a lot of TV. I love movies, but most of the time I'm, like, listening to books. Okay. On Audible or podcasts. Okay. And then I do try to pay attention to people who I consider mentors in the field, and kind of see where they're taking things as well, whether that's through YouTube or social media. So yeah, podcasts. I love the Tim Ferriss show. Okay, cool. I love Tim Ferriss. Yeah. I've been listening to him for years and years. I don't even know how long. It feels like forever. I just appreciate the fact that he's willing to, like, deep dive, you know, into topics and things in a really detailed way. And, you know, he can get into the weeds and stuff on some things, but I think that whatever field you're in, real estate, anything else, like, keeping your critical thinking sharp is helpful. Agreed. You know? And he has some, you know, interesting people on there. So I love Tim Ferriss. Love it. Great podcast, for sure. Yeah. In terms of books, I love Seth Godin. Okay. So Seth Godin is a marketing, like, guru. Love it. And all of his stuff is good. You know, if you're going through a hard time with your career or something, a good little book is The Dip. Okay. My brother actually sent that to me. Because my brother's a business coach. Go figure.
That's awesome.
He's a business mentor, a values-based business mentor, and I mean, again, I'm so lucky to have like awesome people in my life.
That's awesome.
But he sent that to me when I was, going through a hard time, and it really helped me. Just a short little book about pushing through, knowing when to push through and knowing when to quit, and in a very like candid again but compassionate way. And so that's a good book. As well as This Is Marketing, his newest book, which really is like, I don't know, I feel like that's like the seminal book on marketing at the moment.
There we go.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And it's not about the quick fix, right? Of like, let's just sell to people.
Right.
It's actually caring about the people that you serve, and how can you do that best? And who are the people that you should be serving? Right. And I think that's important as well in business, is knowing yourself so that you can know who you can serve best. Good point. Like as realtors, we don't want to sell every house in the city, right? Like we can't do that.
Sure.
We have to know what we're good at, and what we can do well, and who we could represent to get them the best possible outcome. And so he's talks about the different like people. Like really narrowing your audience and things like that. And so I appreciate that.
Love it.
And then another good book I read lately, surprising maybe, was by Giselle.
No, Bundchen?
Giselle Bundchen,
yeah.
the supermodel.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so she wrote a book called Lessons.
Okay.
And I have to say, I really look up to Giselle and Tom Brady.
Okay. Tom Brady's pretty awesome.
Right, like
some people might hate the Patriots on here that are watching. We might get some flack for that, but he's a good quarterback at the end of it. Yeah.
I don't care.
Like it's that's so great.
He's the GOAT.
I love it.
No, but truly,
sure,
right? Like
sure.
I feel like as a couple, they kind of like match each other's energy.
Right.
And they're both like at the top of their game. Like being a model isn't easy for stars.
Right.
Like it takes discipline to do and achieve the level of success that she's achieved. And I feel like, wow, they're like evenly matched.
Sure.
And happy. Like you can just feel that vibe from them. If they ever get divorced, it's not going to be okay.
Hey, Tom, just
Tom,
in case,
You better take care of yourself.
So great.
Anyway, so she has this book, and it is like life lessons that she's learned. And there's a lot of like good wisdom in there. And I think I appreciate that, like that somebody who, I mean, she's just been in front of a face in front of the camera. She's just been like a still photo image.
Right.
And we never got to see or hear what she had to say about herself. And seeing that she's like this very intelligent, very insightful woman, with a lot of good wisdom, that she's learned along the way, learned from her dad and things. Like it was really a cool book.
Wow.
Not one that I think that most people would pick up, but I would say it's good for anyone, like guys, girls, like
love it.
It was a really good one. So yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch in there when you come down to podcasts and books and things along those lines. Any other way you're feeding your mind, anything like that, or is that pretty good?
No, yeah. So like I was saying, social media.
Oh. Okay.
I kind of didn't know, like when I got started in real estate, I'm like, well, how do you sell luxury? Who does it well? Right? And so I came upon Ryan Serhant.
Yeah.
Yeah, from $1 Million Listing.
For sure.
Because I didn't know anyone in this town. I'm like, who do I talk to? And like I realized that he was doing what he was doing at high level without being a jerk.
Right.
Because that's kind of a no-go for me. Like I don't want to be that successful if I have to be a jerk.
Right. You don't want to have to hurt people or step on anybody.
Yeah, or just be arrogant, or also negotiation styles. I feel like the people who are aggressive, that's actually counterproductive to a good negotiation.
Sure.
There's so many better ways to do it.
Well said.
So yeah, I started following him.
Cool.
And I learned a lot from him, and I had the opportunity to go hear him speak this past December, and I was like so excited.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would see him in person. This is really cool. and he had a Q&A session. And I have to tell you,
yeah,
if he ever watches this, I don't know.
Hopefully you're watching this, Ryan, because that'd be great.
If you're watching this, Ryan, you looked really tired that day. Like you looked like you would. No, he had seriously like flown from New York to Denver and was flying back.
Wow.
Like that night, and I was like, oh my gosh, like.
Ouch.
Plus, like, just I can't imagine how many people would take and take and take from that guy
Sure.
on a daily basis.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I was just like, man, that's like a lot of weight on this poor fellow. Because really, I mean, he's only a few years older than me, right?
Sure.
Like, he's uber successful, but still, like, so I like raised my hand and I was like, I just want to say thank you. and I thanked him, you know, for the mentorship that he had like virtually given me. And it was like this crazy, like surreal moment where in sharing like a 10-second splice of my life and thanking him, he had like everybody in the room give me a round of applause for the things I'd overcome. And I was like, whoa, like it was just, it was surreal, you know, having your mentor do that. I was like, what the heck?
Sure. Pinching yourself.
Yeah, I was like, it was just, yeah, it was truly one of those moments where it's like, am I awake? Because this feels weird. This is like la la land over here. Like this is weird. And then I got to speak to him at the end.
Okay.
And he filmed me. I didn't know he was filming me.
Oh, get out of here.
And put me on his vlog.
Okay.
So some people know me as the girl in the red dress on his vlog.
There you go.
But it was a special experience, you know, to actually do that. And the Serhant team, the media team, have been helpful for me.
Love it.
You know, and reaching out to me and stuff. I really appreciate that as well. So yeah, it's cool to like have a personal connection that just serendipity.
But you put yourself in those situations in front of those people. I mean, you raised your hand, you said what you said. You were actually at the event to have the Q&A. So I think that some people say luck, you know, plays into a role. I think it's your preparation meets that opportunity, and you were there, right?
Yeah, and it's just kind of funny that it was like, I just want to say thank you because you look tired.
Just saying, hopefully that doesn't offend you. No, but that's being real. Again, that's you being real and direct and honest, and that's again what everybody has grown and known to appreciate from you and who you are and what's going on. You know, so I think that does matter. I mean, just being real and genuine, and I love that you're educating yourself in so many different ways with personal conversations and mentorships, and you're giving back just as much as you're getting, and you know, books and podcasts. I mean, it's just all the way well-rounded traveling around. So again, everybody needs to learn this way. And if you're not learning in multifacets, please take a page out of Laura's book and do this because it's hugely important. I will have links in the comments down below so that you can feed your mind the same way that Laura's doing. Oh, was there anything else into that section?
Just be curious.
Okay.
Be curious. Like that's honestly how I've like accelerated my learning is getting really curious about one subject, and then I'll like read a bunch of books about that one thing.
Love that.
And master it, right? Like, and I think I'll be that way for the rest of my life. I
hope so.
Like, that's just how I am. Like, So, and I mean with my kids as well. Like, stay curious, little ones. You know.
Love it.
Yeah.
You heard it here first and saw it here. This has been amazing, chock full of such good information for takeaways for balance in life, into business, that sort of thing, education. I do want to wrap this whole thing up with one final question.
Okay.
This is the quote or mantra that you live by that sums you up as a person, a professional. What's that look like for Laura Laughlin?
Okay. So I have two.
Okay.
So the first one, it goes back to Disney again, go figure.
Yeah, right.
When I was going through my divorce, my daughter Evie really liked, and let's be honest, I really liked too, the live action Cinderella.
Oh yeah, sure.
And the mom in there tells Cinderella, have courage and be kind. And at that time in my life, like, yeah, you know, no matter what anyone does to you, like, be kind and have courage. Like and I made a decision then. I wasn't ever going to change my character based on what somebody said or did or anything like that. That I would stay true to who I was. And so that is one that got me through that time. But then the poem Invictus. Okay. The whole I am master of my fate. You know, like I'm master of my.
We have a note here.
Let's see. I am the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul. That's the last line of the poem. It's by William Ernest Henley, and I had that poem, like, you know, visible to me and everything, and I really believe that. You know, life is a funny thing. You never know, like, where it's going to take you. But kind of, it's almost a little like no excuses.
Right.
You know, whatever happens to you, you can build something better. You can build a better reality, really. Like, you know, even if it's just inside of you, even if nothing changes, even if you were still broke and still, you know, and not a great thing, I think if you change yourself inside and take that ownership, that you're the master of yourself.
Right.
If you work from the inside out, then you see really cool things that look like luck and miracles happen in your life.
This is great. I think that sums you up beautifully. I love both of those. And you know, hopefully everybody really enjoyed this one. I know that I did. Laura, you are an official Real Estate Titan.
Oh, yay!
So I want to shake your hand, make that official. But no, I'm so excited, honored to have you. And again, hopefully everybody enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like the Facebook page and subscribe to YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
All right, bye.